And a lot of times, as a result of that 5-year review process, that is kind of what prompts us to open up a regular rulemaking and to address some of those changes that might be needed.
Where are we in that 5-year process, sort of cicada emergence thing that's going on?
That was going to be asked next. And honestly, I don't know, but that's something I can look into and get back to you, because there's been so many rulemakings and things. I need to check in with our administrative counsel and rules office to find out when that 5-year review is due for both adult use and for medical.
Thank you, Megan. Again, appreciate the clarity.
We need to go back and do roll. We forgot to press record on the meeting.
Can we just
Can we show that we
post?
documented it instead? Is that?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't want to force everyone to go through that, including Victor.
Okay, great. Thanks, Megan. Anyone else further questions for Megan while we're on this topic? No? Okay, great. Great. We're going to move on. And so our next item on the agenda is standard proficiency testing methods, or standard potency testing methods. I've seen too many proficiency things over the last few days, so that's why it's in my brain. And I believe, Nate Allen, you were going to talk about this, so I'll turn it over to you, Nate.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So this topic, I think a little bit of background or context for it. Even just a few years ago, there hasn't been a lot of national standard reference written material that we have access to in the analytic labs. It's changed a lot over the years, but you know, as often as there is a standard method like an AOAC developed method, it's sort of become my understanding, and I think it's generally understood, that those are always the preferred methods when performing routine testing. And so those national bodies, they move a lot slower to adopt this kind of stuff. And in the last few years, AOAC has developed CASP, which is a cannabis-specific working group. NIST has put forward the CANIC-QAP QAP program. And so you're able to participate. I think there's like 100 labs across the US that have participated in that. But, you know, generally in analytic chemistry and microbiology, we have kind of a robust framework to develop methodologies and, you know, specifically target certain analytes and validate them in our own labs, but we would have these resources to draw from. So that's a little bit of context about it. Is moving, it's getting a lot easier, a lot better. We're getting better certified reference materials. I think we all dream for the day that we can have in-matrix certified reference materials to calibrate with. But what California has done, and what this topic is very recently, California formally adopted, it's a standard method that all of the analytic commercial laboratories are required to use when testing potency. I'm sure the topic draws controversy. You know, maybe there's differentiation between the labs in sort of the secret sauce that they follow in developing their potency results. And I'm all for differentiation if the secret isn't secret for the wrong reasons. But in this context, and I don't think we have to go through the exact protocol. They do stuff in California on a dry weight basis. We don't do that here. So I don't think the specific protocol fits, but I think just the concept of ensuring measurement, comparability between the labs might benefit industry. You might be able to rely on those lab results, you know, more. You might have less concern with what you might see from different labs. So I just was curious what the Testing Advisory Council thought about the standardization move. I assume regulators, I think that's the natural cadence. Eventually, the more standardized things become, the easier it is to regulate. But just curious what this body thought. So that's kind of the background and the setup for discussion.
So anyone on the council have any thing to add to what Nate says, or any questions for him regarding the potency testing? Go ahead, Murray.
Yeah, I mean, this is not specific in terms of any kind of technical question, but just in terms of feedback, we've all heard the news about Schedule 3. Anybody that thinks we're not going to see more regulatory control, guidance, et cetera, is crazy. This is a drug. We can't forget that. So bottom line is anything, particularly in our experience, that drives toward a standardization protocols in testing, we celebrate. It's a simple truth that different labs do different things in terms of preparing samples, in terms of the solvents they use, and so on. And I don't know enough about testing and testing labs to say you should do it this way or that way, but I do feel like standardizations can only help us get more consistent results there, in terms of testing. So I'm all for it. I think I can say I speak for the edible and infused product industry to say the more the better. Bring it on.
Okay, thank you, Murray. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Being from a lab background myself, I certainly agree with those comments so far. I think it's great to have that standardization. If everyone's doing things similar, it's easier to compare. It's probably also better for the patient because they're getting more consistency when they're using these products, I think. So again, I think it's definitely a good thing. Anyone else have any comments, questions? And I see here, Nate, you had it listed as probably a possible motion. Is that something that someone wants to make a motion on this topic?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be the first to say, I'm not certain on what that recommendation would be. Really, this was to sort of, broach the topic, kind of see where people were at with it. In general, I agree. I think it's going to happen anyway, sooner than later. If I were to propose some sort of recommendation, I don't really think that the labs are that different probably in their protocol, but I do think it would go a long way from a public safety and health perspective if we remove the variable of whether or not things are happening in different ways that are resulting in these claims, label claims specifically. So, my recommendation would be more like maybe the state already has the authority to sort of explore this and craft it. I would be interested in our state's Department of Health establishing the prescriptive document, obviously with feedback and input from everybody involved. But at this stage it was a curiosity, not a formal recommendation, but I do think it's to the third directive of this body, to put forward as a potential way to improve our program. So maybe we go ahead, Murray. I was just gonna say we can bring it up again in future meetings if it's an annual recommendation sort of a thing. So
Am I next?
Yes, go ahead, Murray.
I was just going to say there's a bit to chew on in this terms of what we're looking at here. And if this was when we first started MTAC, we'd have a couple participants that would be all over this document for many different reasons, just because how they do things. So I think we need to get some more lab input to really parse this thing. There can be pain points with anything, and we can say, oh gee, this would be better if we all did this way, only to discover that they've got to do something outlandish or ridiculously expensive to meet this. So I'm not sure what the solution is, except we need to get this to some lab folks and get their input. And probably it does suggest then, if the council's behind it, further discussion on this topic while we solicit that feedback and then continue to talk about it.
I had another comment, because one of the things that makes this specific protocol not compliant with Arizona is it's all based on reporting on a dry weight basis. And I do want to potentially plant a seed to tangent to that topic. And I'll just say that in my last few years specifically, I've noticed USDA lab related guidance as well as FDA published laboratory guidance, because this differentiation between hemp and marijuana is that 0.3% on a dry weight basis. Most of their testing protocols that they're focusing on require reporting on a dry weight basis. And so that might not be another thing that we need to, I know it's been controversial in this market in the past, but it seems to be the standard that people are harmonizing on in other federal sort of frameworks that are coming out. So that's just a tangent, but it's a comment that relates to standardizing a protocol if that's what we chose to do.
Okay, good. Thank you, Nate. So what I'm hearing is it's not a motion at this point, but it's something that we should consider as a council, trying to get more feedback from possibly some of the lab folks here in our state who would be using these standardized methods, and see is there one that maybe they would prefer, or what their feedback is. And that would be something, I know we're still looking for our scientist position on the council, but I think this is something that could be brought forward in further meetings with other folks involved, some of the lab scientists that could hopefully give us some further input on what they think would work or wouldn't work, or if they've got other ideas. Does that sound right?
Hello.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Marie, go ahead. Yeah, you first.
I was just going to say, you know, we'll take it on to speak to the ADA and to Ann Torres there and to get some interest in, and also to our lab partners to distribute this, if it's okay to show it to them and see if we get some initial feedback. Perhaps if you think it's got relevance, we invite them to this meeting to give their feedback in the future.
Yeah, that'd be perfect, Murray. Thank you.
Okay.
Maxwell's
Yeah. Okay. So I also want to add that I have an item, you know, like later on the sponsorship, you know, of the department with the ASU seminar series. I'm going to talk more about that later, but I want to report that, you know, like we are also interested to use the seminar mechanism to invite some of the out of state expert on cannabis safety testing. You know, like we would invite them to speak either in person or on Zoom. We are working on that as well, just to provide the council a little bit more expertise, you know, like on this area, you know, and I will speak more when we get to my part. Thank you.
okay. Thank you, Max.
Okay.
Okay, any final comments on the potency testing method? Okay, I think we know the direction we're going there with that. So we'll move forward to our next item on the agenda. And our next item is going to be discussed by Joe Domena. It's going to be MTC oil testing. I'll turn it over to you, Joe.
Thank you. I've been a medical patient in Arizona since 2015. And, you know, we heard a lot about MTC oil kind of early on during that era, you know, 10-ish years ago. But it's something that I had forgotten about, and recently read an article about a Michigan lab talking about sort of the prevalence of MTC oil in their particular industry and what they're seeing. And I thought that it might be smart to bring it up. And this kind of ties in, not specifically, but I have similar concerns with the next agenda item. So that's part of the reason I wanted to kind of do a twofer here. So just so everyone's on the same page, MTC oil is derived from coconut oil. It's called medium chain triglycerides, and it's a diluting agent, mostly used specifically for cartridges and vaporizers and that type of thing. It is banned in some states. like Colorado. And from my information, communication with the Department of Health, there are no prohibitions or restrictions on MTC oil in Arizona at the present moment. So what I wanted to do was just bring the issue to the group and see, you know, obviously we don't have as many labs on as we usually do, but what kind of prevalence is there with this oil and this diluting agent? And are there other diluting agents that we should be aware of and potentially be testing for with the final product specific to cartridges, so that patients and customers understand what it is that they're inhaling and putting in their body? Can anyone give me any kind of guidance, or is more of a discussion item at this point?
And I did want to just clarify, I think we had a typo in the agenda. It looks like it's MCT oil. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Murray.
Yeah, I'm just going to get my 2 cents worth on this, and I think it's important because Joe made the key point about this is really about ingestion of medium chain triglycerides through cartridges. MTC or MCT oil, that's a general terminology for any medium chain triglyceride, and there are products like that are generally considered safe for ingestion through your GI tract, you know, orally, but not smoked. So there is a distinction. Medium chain triglycerides are relatively easy to digest. They tend to permeate the blood-brain barrier, and they're relatively easy on the system. So from an ingestion standpoint, as an edible, they're frequently used in tinctures and other things like that. There's questions about the source of it. There's all the issues about the sort of, you know, is it equitable sources in terms of where these things come from? What's the impact of the environment? Yada, yada, yada. But specifically with regard to edibles, you're cool. Your topic is specific about cartridges.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, similar to the next topic, I mean, these are things that are made for eating generally, or at least are safer for eating. And we're talking about a scenario where people are inhaling it. And I'm all about people being able to do what they want with their body when they have the knowledge and the pre-warning of what it is that they're doing. And I don't necessarily see that with this oil. But I don't want to run around making recommendations and rules for the industry to deal with for something that's not even really that prevalent, or maybe not necessarily used that much anymore. So if anyone has any feedback or guidance on that, that would be helpful. Maybe this might be one of those topics we should table to get some feedback from lab owners and others who maybe aren't present at this time. So
Joe,
Joe,
this is,
Go ahead.
this is Nate. Just generally speaking, and it's anecdotal, I think it would be good to get some data, as far as what its market, prevalence, or whatever the word is, really is. But it is a very common carrier, MCT. It works really well with cannabinoids. So I know in the samples we see it. We're not specifically looking for MCT oil as an analyte. Maybe there's an assumption that is the carrier, but as we've reviewed certain recipes or production SOPs on the industry side, MCT is common. It's a very common carrier because it's good at what it does. But for sure, to speak to the inhalation of it, I'm sure that there's a lot of data out there that would suggest inhalation is not the preferred method of consumption. So
Go ahead, Murray.
I'm just going to throw this in because I know that Joe's going to move right on to terpene testing with the same basic point. And I'm just going to say that in our research, terpenes are a very interesting topic. They're clearly important in cannabis. And they've been shown to have some very interesting impact in terms of the whole cannabinoid experience. Just recently, they have identified, I think it was limonene, but a specific a terpene that they found is actually what offsets the anxiety that so many people get when they use cannabis. And so you've heard about that, where you get a paranoia. Well, apparently that particular terpene really goes right at a bullseye in terms of addressing it. So we're still learning a lot about them. The challenge with terpenes is it's one thing, again, to ingest it into your body, and go through your GI tract. It's not clear exactly what happens to many of the compounds that we ingest when we smoke. And, there are terpenes that can, through the application of intense heat, convert to things like benzene, and that's a carcinogen. So exactly which terpenes do that and how they're handled, that's a huge can of worms to sort out. But I do think that there will be an emerging recognition and awareness of what we need to be more conscious of in terms of when we do smoke products. And I'm a smoker. Hell, I use cannabis every which way I can. I know you guys were all wondering that, so now you know. It probably makes sense. But the simple truth is, in time, as our market and our industry evolve, and with Schedule 3, we do the research, we may find that some things we choose to put into our body through different conduits, mechanisms, whether it's inhalation or sublingual or otherwise, maybe aren't the best approach. Now, I noticed Steve Cottrell popped up, so he's clearly got something to say about that.
Thanks, Murray. I do. During VapeGate a couple years ago, with the vitamin E acetate that was being put into vape cartridges, there were many studies being done on the flavorings, as well as, which would be the food grade terpenes and things like that. And while many of them produced benzene, more of them produced formaldehyde. And as many of you know, that's a embalming fluid. And so, yes, I guess it's pickling our bodies, but not for the better. This is something I would love to be testing as a recommendation for a new testing protocol. This would be great. Terpenes are so, flavonoids and terpenes have been studied around the globe for thousands and thousands of years. And in ancient medicine, this is what causes so many different things and so many different effects in the body and benefits. So if possible, God, I would love to see this. And it's a safety thing as well, because some food grade flavorings are in fact bad for us and not good for us. So
let's not forget limonene in quantity is an industrial cleaner.
It is.
These things are highly concentrated.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joe.
No, you guys are good. This is exactly what I was hoping for. Really, really good discussion. I guess what I would say is, what Nate mentioned about what he's seeing in lab results is something that I honestly didn't expect. I was hoping, I should say, that the MCT situation was kind of behind us in general. And what I'm most concerned about from the patient and consumer perspective is simply awareness, knowing what it is that they're putting in their body. And then they make the choice. I think, not to jump around too much, but on the food grade thing, for the label requirements, which of course is not part of our purview, a product manufacturer doesn't have to say that it's a food grade terpene. And I would love to see them differentiate if that terpene came specifically from a cannabis plant or from, an industrial factory in Ohio or whatever. So, so for the moment, I think based on what Nate's saying, I'd really like to table the MCT discussion. I'd like to kind of get a little bit smarter on it, and maybe we can discuss it next month if that's okay. DHS, I don't know if I need to make like a motion for that, but that's, I think, what I'd like to do.
Yeah, that's perfect, Joe. We can make sure we put it on the agenda again for next month. And yeah, I'm interested in hearing more as well about MCT. I'm not that familiar with it, but just why I was going to ask you, do you know why some of the other states did ban it? Was it causing what health effects was it causing?
So it was saying, you know what, I'll send this to you. I don't believe it said anything about the specifics of what they were talking about. And this article speaks to some of the other negative things that they were finding in some of the lab tests. But yeah, I'll shoot this over to you just so we have the same thing. Definitely.
Great. Thank you.
Can I make one last comment?
Yeah.
Joe, this is Nate. The thing to remember, I know it's come up in this meeting or in these meetings before, but analytic laboratories, we're really trying to measure for what we're looking for, right? We're never trying to measure what we're not looking for.
Yeah.
Because we have to calibrate to those specific analytes. So I know it's come up in some of the various cannabinoid conversion oil questions that have happened in the past. But to improve our program here, it sure would be nice to develop a list of those target analytes and see if we can't quantitate them, because that's really, we can do qualitative testing, which is presence, non-presence, which is relatively simple, straightforward in most cases, or we can do quantitative testing, which is actually determining how much of it is in that particular thing. So just another comment.
Okay. It's helpful. All right. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, great. Thank you, Joe. I know the next item on our agenda was you also, Joe. I know we touched on it as well with the food grade terpene testing. I didn't know if you had anything further that you'd like to discuss on that.
No, I was able to hit all those talking points and mentioned, like I said, the label not part of our purview, but I just am really shooting for awareness, and I, want to sort of walk that tightrope of what's good for the consumers and the patients, and what's not too burdensome on the industry, because I understand that anytime we add or take away analytes, that means something has reverberations. So just want to make conscious, smart decisions about these issues. And would like to table that one as well. Appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Our next item on the agenda is from Maxwell Lung. It's the service agreement and potential speakers on cannabis safety and testing. I'll turn it over to you, Max.
Okay. All right. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. All right. So I want to report on a new service agreement with the Department of Health Services, related to a new seminar, a seminar series and a new cannabis testing workshop that we are putting together at ASU in the upcoming year. So first of all, many of you who are on this council and also, in the member of the Arizona Dispensary Association have probably heard that, earlier this year, we have a seminar series, ASU New College Seminar for Cannabis Sativa, the Environment, and Your Health. So that is a ASU initiative. And we are very happy to see that, a number of members, on this council, I saw Nate was here, in person for a couple of the seminar, and also Murray was in our last seminar too. So we are very excited to see that, there are interest, from the council on this seminar series. And we are very excited to report that in the upcoming year, we have the sponsorship of the Department of Health Services. So we are very grateful for the department support. Now with the support, we have a couple of new additions to what we are doing, at ASU. So first, the seminar series, we have resources to invite speaker, both in person and virtually on Zoom. So as I reported earlier, we would make use of this mechanism to invite experts from out of state, on cannabis safety testing. Now this includes academic people from the academic sector. You guys probably know that in Michigan and in Colorado, some of the schools now have analytical chemistry courses specialized on cannabis testing. So we will see if we can get an expert, from that end. When we are also looking into inviting industry consultant for cannabis testing to see if we can invite one of them as well. So we already are sending out invite. We haven't got any confirmation yet, but we will report when we have a confirmed speaker. And this would happen later this year in the fall. And also the full seminar series is going to be in the spring, from January to April next year, 2025. Now, another addition to what we are doing at ASU is we are also going to offer a 5-day cannabis testing workshop. So the purpose of this workshop is to focus on workforce development for the cannabis analytical industry, the lab that Nate and also Ryan is running, the former member of the council. The idea here is that we are going to create this, free of charge workshop for people who either have a background in fourth year analytical chemistry in college or have 1 year of working experience in the industry to basically, come to ASU West Valley campus to do in-person training. It will go all the way from basic, such as, like chain of custody, how to develop calibration curve to, more advanced method, IPCMS, GCMS. And this is one thing that we are currently working on. The focus is to have a curriculum that would provide people with basic background in analytical chemistry to one compliant safety testing, in compliant with the Arizona testing requirement. Okay, so it's going to be free of charge, and it would also be offered for the seminar section in the morning. Right now, what we are planning is to do something similar to what we do in the webinar. So we will just broadcast it on Zoom in the morning for all the lecture in that workshop, and then in the afternoon we would, like people who are in this workshop, then they would need to obviously attend in person, and then they would do the hand-on training. Not with cannabis, of course. This is at least going to be schedule free, by that time. But we have CBD, hemp flower, as a surrogate, and would train would train people who are interested how to work with the cannabis sativa material. And we will have a further press release of what the new iteration of the seminar series, and also the 5-day cannabis testing workshop later this year. So stay tuned, and if you have know people that who are interested to take this, please do send me an email, and I would hear the input from you all as well.
Okay, great. Thank you, Max. That sounds very interesting. So folks that would want to participate would reach out to you to get further information on those seminars, etc. Okay, perfect. Anyone any questions for Max?
Oh, I'm sorry, you mentioned later this year, Max. Did you have any dates in mind for a start?
Yeah. So the tentative schedule is that we should have at least one day. We should have at least one 2-hour section, in the fall, and then the full seminar series, the seminar for cannabis sativa, the environment and your health. So that one is going to be run in the exact same format as what we have done earlier this year. So that one would run from January to April. Okay, it's going to be hybrid. So you guys can either come in person. We have pizza and soda if you come in person, or you guys can join on Zoom. And then the workshop, tentatively, it would be 2 weeks right after the seminar series. That is the tentative schedule for it.
Okay,
Marie, you have a question?
More a comment. And as you did say, Max, I did go to your last session. And I just want to tell everybody that's listening that it was pretty cool. He's got some young students that are, I say young, I mean, it's relative, right? But some young students with a lot of energy, really bright folks that he's working with. And I was fascinated to see the level of the kinds of things they're doing, looking at the biology of cannabis and all of that. So I was entertained. I'm going to go again. So I really encourage you guys to as well.
Okay, go ahead, Ned.
Yeah, I'll just have to sort of double testify on that. I really appreciate the work you're doing, Max, with your team and the others involved. Just really impressed to see the level of participation and interest. But we definitely, to have some sort of feeder programs that can develop some of the very specific skills that these cannabis labs need. It's unique. It's unique to combine microbiology and chemistry in the same environment. It's unique to have these instruments, doing very different things, but all on the same sample. So just appreciate it. And we're in full support of whatever you need or what, if you need volunteers or help or any of that, we're happy to.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nate, and thank you so much, Marie, for the positive comment. And one thing that I want to add to is that our focus is workforce development. Because in this council, we have been meeting for like a little bit over 2 to 3 years now, about various aspects of cannabis use and safety testing. And from my part, as a faculty member at the public university, we want to contribute to developing workforce for the cannabis and safety testing industry in Arizona. So this is going to be a pilot project. It's the first time we are running it, and again, we are very thankful for the support of the Department of Health Services, like with Megan and Kim, to basically run this, like for free, as a free service to the community. So this if this one well, we definitely would develop like another proposal to run this again. But if you guys have any input, particularly with the safety testing, like we sent out a couple of invites already. But if you can have anybody that you think, okay, this person, we really want to have him or her, come to speak, like we can manage, and we definitely would reach out to all of you at the council, and also with the department, and also with the dispensary association as well. So thank you so much for all your support.
Okay, great. Thank you, Max. Okay, I think I might have seen Matt Lascala join, and just for the sake of our roll call, Matt, are you online? Did we miss you? Thought I seen the name pop. See it all?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, we can't hear you if you're talking, Matt, but we will document that you joined. We missed you earlier, so we will add you to the roll call. Great.
Thank you. Yes, I'm here. My bad.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Read the people that right here, that way we have it documented.
Okay, so let me do that because for those of you, we didn't have record hit on our meeting here earlier, so we're just going to go through and I'm just going to call out all of the individuals
Who are here,
who are here.
just to record it.
Just to record it and document it. So we have Maxwell Lung is present. We have Marie Stein is present. We have Tim Nolan is present. We have Steve Cottrell present. We have Matt Lascala present. We have Joe DeMena present. We have Jay Neary present. We have Victor Hugo Ramirez Sanchez present. We have Nate Allen present, and we have myself, Victor Waddell, present. And I think that's everyone. Anyone that we missed online? Okay, perfect. Thank you for giving us the time to confirm that. That was the last of our agenda items, except for our meeting wrap up. So we have it listed here that the next MTAC meeting will be in August. So you will see something from Fabiola coming out in the near future on that, so that we can get our dates locked in and make sure that everyone's available for that next meeting. Again, if you're suggesting a topic that you would like to add to the next meeting agenda, please explain how your topic relates to the council's charge, so that we have that documented. Steve, go ahead.
Why August? Why not July or end of June?
Vacations. It's hard for us to get quorum when people are not on vacation. We thought it would be impossible during the summer months.
All right, that's not buying that. I'm not buying that, but okay.
We can look at some other dates. Fabiola send out some surveys to see what dates might work for everybody.
Yeah, and if we need to have one sooner, we can do that as well. Okay. Okay, great. And lastly, we have, I believe, 4 open positions on the council currently. I'll just run through those quickly so that you can keep it in your minds. If you have anyone that you might know that might help fill these roles, it's going to certainly help us, as we struggle sometimes with getting quorum. So if we could fill these last 4, that would help us a lot. So first of those 4 open positions, first one is a licensed healthcare provider who specializes in treating substance use disorders and who has at least 5 years of experience. The second is a representative of a nonprofit medical marijuana dispensary that is primarily focused on producing medical marijuana edibles and who has at least 3 years of medical marijuana production experience. The third is a lab scientist who holds a doctorate or a Bachelor of Science degree and has at least 3 years experience in testing in a cannabis testing lab. And our last individual position is a designee of a statewide nonprofit cannabis testing association. And that one, as we said, was just vacated today by Ryan Tracy.
And
So
we'll be reaching out to the association on that one to try and get a new designee.
okay, perfect. So I think we've reached the end of our meeting and covered all our items. And like I said, if you've got items for the next meeting, please reach out, let us know. Fabiola will be reaching out to see about dates for the next meeting. Could be sooner than August. So again, it'll depend. Hopefully we'll get feedback from everyone and can at least know if we're going to be able to get a quorum or not. Again, if any of you have fun vacations planned, I hope you enjoy them with your family and friends over the holiday season. So stay safe out there, and we look forward to talking to you at the next council meeting. And thank you for your participation today. And thanks to the staff for setting everything up and coordinating it. And with that, we'll adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.